It's a very good evening. If you're listening us to an Apple podcast or via Audio Boom, nice to have you with you for the 5th Reds Report of the season. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll probably be forgiven thinking, is this the Reds Report or have I tuned into some sort of Take That tribute act? No. In fact, I'll let you decide who's the fat one, who's the funny one, and can neither of us actually sing. Let me introduce the panel for today because this is the Reds Report. First of all, after a few weeks without him, we're happy to have our resident star striker back. He's a bit like Robbie Williams. He's a little bit naughty. He's a little bit cheeky, but you just have to listen to him. He's the chaplain in our team because he's not the tallest, he's not the most talented, but he's got bags of energy and he can floss. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Ridgeard's back. Chris, how are you doing?
That is an absolute wonderful welcome, Carlo. Thank you very much for having me back. It's brilliant to join you and Steve. I know you and Steve been holding fort in my absence. Steve, you've done a great job being the handsome, funny man of the duo, filling in for me. And it's nice for us all to be here, isn't it? You know, it's a bit of it's nice.
Yeah. Well, you already mentioned him. The second member of our panel today is a man that reminds me a little bit of Gary Barlow. He's a bit more mature, but he's always worth listening to. He's the soul power of our team. That's because he's definitely not the youngest and probably by far the eldest. But you can always rely on him for opinions and football chat. And he's been an ever-present so far this season. Steve Andrews.
Yes. Steve.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that very interesting introduction. What do you mean by far oldest? I'm not by far oldest. Surely not.
Listen, I was going to do one for myself, and I thought, no, but if anybody asks, I'm Mowat. Because on form or not, I'm always on the team sheet. We'll just leave it there.
All right, okay. That's interesting. I made more appearances than you last season, Carl. I did. I'm not having that. We're not letting him out of jail like that, Steve. I'm not convinced. No.
He's definitely more of a Jason Orange, I think.
Well,
speaking of Orange, you do know he's Dutch, don't you? You know that.
One of the funny names, he can't sing.
That's what I was thinking.
Lads, lots to discuss. I'll do it in sort of chronological order. So I want to talk about Millwall first, then QPR, then the new gaffer, and then we'll look ahead to Watford. So first of all, start with you, Chris. In the warm-up for the Millwall match, Woodrow and Williams drop out with injuries. Our switching time, knowing that Woodrow can't play, and Williams, who love him or hate him, he's been a little bit up and down on that side, and he's proving an ever-present in the team. Was that a worry? Was that a worry for you?
Yeah, massive worry for both players, really. Not just for Woodrow, for his goal-scoring prowess and how dangerous he is in attacking areas, and how clinical he's in taking his chances. But for Williams as well, who's been probably like an ever-present over the past 20, 25 games. I'd like to see the stats, how many games he's actually played, but particularly under Gerhard Struber towards the end, he trusted him immensely, be it at left wing back, left-hand side or a middle three at the back, or at right wing back. And I think having Ludovic gone and bringing in Callum Britton, which I'm sure we'll get on to later on the episode, I thought that losing him would be quite big. He's a big player for us, and it's not been the case, has it? Because people have stepped up. Adore stepped in, not for long, previous game, but he did step in. And then obviously we know that Callum Styles is capable of playing there, and now we have an abundance of midfield talent. He can play out there. But yeah, Woodrow, I think we need him, and he proved again why we need him so much. Forever a threat and a great finisher.
Steve, when you look back on the Millwall match, and obviously, it was another draw because Adam Murray only really seemed to get draws when he manages the team on a sort of like caretaker basis. If you look back on that now and the results of these midweek matches, and they obviously did really well against Preston, is that maybe a better point than we give ourselves credit for?
Yeah, looking back at the game, I think it is. That first 20, 25 minutes at Millwall, we looked steady and what have you, but second half, I thought we struggled. It was definitely a game of two halves for me. But when you do look back and look at results that Millwall had, like you say, against Preston, I think it's a point gain. I still come back to the fact that it seemed as though Murray, for all his caretakership, didn't really have a plan B. But I think we've been struggling for a plan B for quite a while, not just under Murray. I'm hoping this new guy can sort of change it up a little bit, and he's got some new, fresh ideas.
You talked about him before, Chris. Listen, let's discuss him. There was uproar when when Ludwig went back to his team in Germany, because he's now gone to Schalke. I think uproar for two reasons, really. First of all, he was probably the one that showed a lot of pedigree, young player, hungry, a young German international. And for the other half, about the statement that was put out about inconsistent performances 4 matches into the season, which still sort of baffles us. Callum Britton makes us forget actually who Ludwig was, because when we bought him from MK Dons, immediately people get on the high horse saying we could have got him for a free before he signed a new contract with MK Dons. It doesn't really matter, because I have seldom seen a player come in and perform like he does as what Callum Britton's on, because he's been in every match, you can say, at least a contender for man of the match.
Yeah. First and foremost, Ludwig. I think that's Big Dane all pulling his plonker, if I'm honest. It's not first time and not be last, but I think that's Big Dane just playing the Barnsley game. At the end of the day, he's got Barnsley's interest at heart, hasn't he? So he's not going to sell somebody upriver and say that, oh, actually, we weren't good enough or we weren't big enough to keep him and he didn't want to play for us because Struber was going on. He's not going to say that, is he? So let's be right about that. And in terms of loan players, we said we weren't going to loan players in. And yeah, we've loaned players in. And we've got Matty James in now, haven't we? But he brings experience. Why loan young players? I don't know. We might as well sign them and grow them ourselves, which were planning all along, wasn't it? Yeah. Callum Britton, we would have had to pay a fee, regardless of what people said. He is under the age bracket where it would have gone to court. We would have had to pay something anyway. I think that's MK Dons making him sign a contract, look after their financial issue. So that's a load of tosh as well. In terms of bringing him in, under the radar again, nobody knew who we were. Great signing. He looks, I don't know what Steve's thoughts on this. He looks really steady. I think given the number 7 shirt, I think put a bit of pressure on him. People were thinking, oh, is he a marauding winger? Is he a fullback? What kind of player is he? But he just looks comfortable down the right-hand side. Would you agree with that, Steve? No matter where he is on the pitch in terms of how far back he is, how far forward he is, as long as he's on that right-hand side, he looks comfortable, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think you're right what you said. When we brought him in, I don't think there's anybody can say, oh yeah, I've seen him, I know what he's like, I know what he can do. Yeah. But after seeing him only in a couple of games, he's got a bit of pace about him, he's got some trickery about him, he can go forward. But I think the difference is he can come back and he can defend, and he's comfortable defending. And if you watch him play, it's the same as Alt, isn't it? You know, tell a good player. He gives himself time. He gives himself time on ball for whatever he's doing. And I think, yeah, definitely a bit of a dark horse there for towards end of season. I think he's going to be a mainstay, definitely mainstay at back.
The 1-1 result. The new head coach was in the stand. He flew over to London to watch the game, and then he took training on the following day. Looking back on that match, history. If you look at the history. Besides last season, we've never really done well away matches in London. Another point I have to be happy with, don't we? Because surely the only way we're going to get any better is by turning draws into wins, which is a lot easier than turning defeats into wins. So do you think at any point, Chris, Murray would have been in with the performances that he, that he presented towards? Do you think he was ever in with a shout of becoming the new head coach?
No, I don't think he was at all. No, I think you can see that through his language and his interviews that he used. The fact that he was staying at Barnsley regardless of who got the job. I think he's highly regarded at Barnsley. And as a fan's point of view, from what I've seen, he should be. He stepped into those shoes, managed it twice now, in exceedingly difficult circumstances. The results weren't brilliant under Struber before he left for New York. I know he stayed up. It was dramatic. They weren't brilliant. So he's not coming to a winning side. He obviously took the reins under a cloud from Stendhal, possibly talking to Huddersfield. Players, really down on confidence, not getting results. He steadied that ship. Did he win many games? You've mentioned it. No, he didn't. He drew a lot of games. But I think just to turn that confidence around has given this new manager a massive step up. So I don't think he was ever in with a shout with doing it. And I think he knew that. I think he knew what his game was from the start. And I think he really set up the new manager to be able to succeed from the get-go.
Steve, they said he would have a job with Barnsley regardless. Is that a sign that maybe in the future he will be, or if is he a bit like that handyman that you come in, you bring him in to do some jobs that need doing because he's reliable, he's cheap, but he's never going to do anything more than just a few jobs. You know what I mean? Because if you are a coach that is future focused, that is ambitious, surely he'd want to look elsewhere and start maybe in League Two or League One and plying his trade. But he seems to be happy to take over and then go back again to assistant.
He's very much like, and you'll relate to this, that little lad with his finger in dam to stop dam breaking. He comes in and he's done a job. But I think we've had the conversation before. The new guy, Valerian, I think should bring his own men in. I think part of the problem that we've had over the last 2 or 3 years is, we've had the manager and we've had Murray in the background, but there's not been that much improvement. And I just wonder now whether Murray is actually part of the problem and not part of the solution. I'd like to see Valerian bringing his own men, to be perfectly honest.
Can I interject there and disagree with Steve for the first time on the show? I think
hold on.
I think we are competing, and I think we have improved. If you look where we were this time last season, understand that we weren't competing at all. We were conceding and leaking goals. And I remember getting up motorway at 4-1 down away at Preston. And I think it ended up being 5-1, did it, or 6-1, something. I don't know, halfway home, to be fair. And I remember how bad it were under Stendhal. So I'm not having that, Steve, at all. I'm sorry, pal. I'm not having the fact we've not got it. I'm not having we've not got any better, because I think we have, and I think we look much more stead sure at the back, and we're not leaking 4 and 5 goals, and therefore you can win football games. And I think Murray's done a great job. And I think Murray still needs to be around the club just in case we do really well again and his manager leaves again.
Is he?
I think,
go on, Steve.
Go on. No, I'm going to say, I think if they're going to plan for the future, if Valerian does do really well, he'll stick about, like you said, for about 12 months, 18 months, and he'll be gone. For me, if you're going to groom somebody to take over from him, if they want to continue with a style of play, it's either going to be always a foreign manager, which means they've got to search for somebody, or you've got to groom from within, so to speak. For me, I'd rather see Devaney step up and bring him into the first team and use him as sort of a sounding board. He knows the youngsters. I just feel as though, defence has improved. Anderson's improved immensely. Williams has improved immensely. But over the last 2 or 3 games, for me, Anderson always looks as though he's got a mistake in him. And although he has improved, I don't think we've improved enough yet to warrant kicking on and being what we should be, which is a mid-table championship side.
Hold that thought, because I want to talk about that, because obviously the new gaffer used to play at a decent level for that, and he used to be a central defender, if I remember rightly. So let's first have a little look back at QPR, because it was his first match in charge last Tuesday, a couple of days ago. The club started as soon as the team sheet is announced, now before the match, putting a little video out with the reasoning behind why certain people are playing. Just as a one-word answer, is that something helpful, do you think? Is that something the fans would want? Or is that, what is the reason behind that? Steve, do you watch that and think, oh, that's great, or I'm not bothered?
Yes. You wanted a one-word answer,
This is with Carlo. He asked 5 questions in one go, Steve. So it's yes, no, yes is the answer.
What can you do with that? I'm not being funny. It's very similar, and I'm sure everybody's seen it. Most people have seen the Spurs documentary that's been on the TV with Mourinho and what have you. And it's very much, it's like watching that. And the thing I like about it is it's showing, it's giving information. The club's giving you information. Barnsley's always been a club that's kept things to themselves, no matter what it is. And you've got to sort of dig it out of them to get to know what's going on. If you know beforehand, so-and-so's injured, whoever can't play, this is my reasoning behind it. You know, you've got the information to take into the game and you understand it better.
Yeah. So it's helpful, Chris, isn't it? Because there was a lot of anger aimed at the board for not signing a target man, for not keeping us informed. We spoke about it before. That gesture, in a way, goes some way to repairing that harm and bringing the club closer to the fans again.
Yeah, Steve's right. Steve's nailed it. That's exactly what they're doing it for. You know, in a time when COVID is prevalent still, it's the way that we're bringing us a little bit closer to the team, isn't it? And that's why they've done it. I personally don't watch it. I like to think that I know why players have been selected. I like to think that I know what formation they're going to go with 2 days before. If anybody's got anything about them and watches football, they probably could have a good guess themselves. It might be to quieten people that are so-called in the know on social media about what things are happening. It's just a certain case of quietening them, really, and saying, well, actually, you're wrong. You don't actually know as much as you think you do. And we're going to tell you why. That could be the case. I'm all for it. Whatever Barnsley FC do, Carlo, they'll not be right. People still moan.
Right.
So,
what was right Tuesday night was the result on the pitch. I mean, in fairness, you know, it was the first win and it was the first match for the new head coach. Fantastic. Are we looking at clean sheet, 3 goals, fantastic? Or is Bart Becker saying, yeah, 3 goals is great, but it should have been at least 6 or 7? Chris?
I'm saying I had £20 on 4 or more goals, so I lost about 125 quid on Barnsley wasting them chances.
You're getting paid too much then, mate. Put 20 quid on.
Or not enough, Steve, if I have to gamble. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I think wasted chances, Carlo. At this point, I'd like to raise the fact that I'm the best striker in Mexper District Division 1 for the Cross Keys at Wharf. And I would like to say that I think I could have gone hat-trick. That's my piece done, Carlo. Steve?
You're certainly better than Chaplin, mate, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Chaplin, Steve, you ripped into it. It's been a while. You ripped into him. I said, Macarena if he scores, Macarena. You didn't get back to me in time because he'd already bagged by then. I just wondered what your Macarena were like, Steve.
Well, I'd love to do it. I'd do it for you, mate. But as you know, I've broken my leg and I can't actually stand up and do it. And if you believe that, you believe anything.
Have you broke your leg? Is that carrying Carlo for the past 5 weeks? Or?
Okay. Oh, I like that one, mate. Oh, I felt that one going in that.
Well, I can mute him from here. There is a problem. Hold on, we lost connection.
Right, you know.
All joking aside,
He's cut me off.
A 3-0 victory. Probably not on the cards, Steve, if you look at the first 20 minutes. I mean, I was fearing for myself. We had a bit of a text conversation going on during the match. Those first 20 minutes, Steve, showed that if any other team with maybe a bit more confidence would have come, they could have been 2 or 3-0 up, couldn't they?
Oh, God, yeah. That first, like you said, first 15, 20 minutes, we could have been out of sight. They could have been well in front. We looked basically shocking. Passing was shocking. Movement were very poor. They had a lot of possession. But then you could, in a way, you could feel it. As you were watching the game, we started to get a bit more ball. Adore down left-hand side was starting to create stuff. Everybody was starting to create stuff. I've got to say it was a surprise that Callum Styles came straight into the team. But by God, what a player that was going to be. Fantastic. But then after 20 minutes, you know, we were getting hold of it. I think we'd have gone on to win, to be quite honest, without the sending off. But I think the difference against QPR to the other sending off a week before was we didn't sort of do a turtle's head and hide back in a shell. We came back out, we came out, we attacked, we created more chances than we've created for the last 5 or 6 games. Schmidt, last 10 minutes, should have had a hat-trick. No 2 ways about that. So at least we are creating them chances. All we need to do now is finish them off.
Chris, before the match, the club put a video out the day after the match, but it shows the new head coach with all the staff in a group huddle in the changing room, where he says to him, be prepared to sacrifice everything on the pitch and be there for each other. and then they sort of shout, and then they go out, and obviously they you know, they won 3-0. Steve just said a week ago we came up against 10 men and we struggled, and we really struggled. Is that the new manager effect, do you think, that we coped with it a little bit different? We have somebody on the sideline who's constantly shouting and instructing, or, you know, because similar circumstances, but this time we really took advantage and well, we scored 2 and they gave us another one. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a case of numerous factors. I think, you know, I don't want to besmirch Adam Murray, having praised him earlier. I think Murray previously wasn't patient. They went down to 10 men the previous game. We got overload left-hand side. We got overload right-hand side. We were on top. And then he made loads of changes and we never looked like scoring again. Yeah. So I don't think he was patient enough. I think we saw a bit more patience last night. That probably might come from experience with this new manager. I think that were a factor. Obviously, the new manager effect, like you mentioned, everybody's busting a gut. There's 10% extra, isn't there? You've got a new boss in town. Everybody's working hard. Everybody wants to please. I thought that definitely would be a factor. And I just thought the balance a little better when Matty James come on. We're a bit more composed. Styles played out wide left second half. I just thought we looked a bit more composed. And I mean, yes, we flustered, didn't we, at chances, and we were wasteful. But the game were all over by them, wouldn't it? I'd rather them save them goals for when we need them against Sheffield Wednesday or something like that.
You mentioned, well, you both mentioned Styles. Let's just have a look at the midfield. So we've got a new gaffer. Midfield, he can choose between Styles, Mowat, James, Kane, Palmer, Thomas, Bearer, if he's still with the under 23s, and Christy Davies, who's had 1 appearance on the bench so far. There's a lot to choose from there. On the other side, you know, we've got, I think, you know, we've got a lot of games coming up in a very short period of time. Who stood out for you so far and say, you know, you'd have to start with these in midfield? I'll let you go first, Chris.
I think Matty James, when Matty James is fit and he can play 90 minutes, he will play every game. Sorry, I'll take that back. He will play every Saturday or he'll play every Tuesday. I'm not convinced he can play back-to-back games in such quick succession if it's a Saturday. And I think that's what we saw on Tuesday, you know, midweek. I think we saw him not playing because he played quite a big part of the week. And I'm not convinced he's ready yet. And even when he is ready, are they going to risk him and play him, you know, Saturday, Tuesday? Probably not. Callum Styles, obviously, Steve mentioned him as well. I'm highly impressed with him. Is he a central midfielder or is he now a left-hand side midfielder? Because if Matty James is to start, then for me, Callum Styles moves out wide left. But I think Callum Styles' energy and Alex Mowat's energy is not really impressed with Kane so far. I know I've not seen much of him. I don't know if it's the right shape as a flat central 4. I don't know if that's the right shape for him. I think he's more an attacking midfielder when there's a 3. So that'd be interesting to see. Is he somebody that could play a wide right? It'd be interesting to see what the gaffer does and comes in. You know, I spoke to Jimmy Whitehead earlier, put an episode out earlier about managing new players. And he said sometimes the players don't know their best position yet. And the new manager comes in and shows them the light to a certain degree. I don't know what you think, Steve.
No, I do agree to a certain extent with that. What I don't want him to do is what I think Struber did and put players into the wrong positions because that certainly spoiled. The one obviously springs to mind is Woodrow, but I think it's also spoiled Mowat. I think Mowat's played way too deep over the last 2 or 3 months, and it's been in detriment to his game. Matty James, is class. We know he's class, but I like Ramal Palmer, and for what Ramal Palmer's done last 2 games, for me, he shouldn't lose his play. I know he was injured, so that's fair enough. But if he'd have been fit, for me, Ramal Palmer would have played instead of Matty James.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Carl, I think it's a case of now, it's not a starting 11, is it, Steve?
No, it's got to be a squad. It's got to be a squad now.
It's a starting 15, 16. I've got a question for you, Carlo. Steve mentioned players playing out of position. Yeah. We saw Connor Chaplin play wide left as a left forward. To me, physically, is he best suited there? Because he certainly can't play down middle with 2 centre-backs on him, can he not?
I know he's best suited.
My thoughts, if you ask me, I would start with Woodrow, Freezer and Schmidt up front. I think whilst Chaplin his step counter will be really high. I have to sometimes wonder about the end product. I know he scored a goal, and he did. But on the Struber as well, he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. I think he goes missing at times. And from what I've seen from Freezer, who's used to obviously playing the way that Ismail wants us to play, Schmidt, I think, has been extremely unlucky to pack up, come to England and have bit performances here and there. So my problem with Connor Chaplin is, I think at this moment in time, I just don't know if it's a division too high for him. I think League One, he'd get 20 goals. Absolutely, every day of the week or twice on a Sunday. I just think we've got more adventurous and skilled players that are not being used. So, I would put Schmidt out to one side, Woodrow in the middle and Freezer on the other one.
I am not convinced Schmidt and Woodrow are mobile enough for me to play that game, but we shall see. We'll see what the manager thinks.
Well, and the thing is as well, we've got 14 matches to the end of the calendar year. So even the Christmas, 14 matches, that's only 8.5 weeks. If you want to get me something for Christmas, I've got an Amazon wish list, but that's beside the point. So 8 weeks, 14 matches, he's going to have to use the squad like you said, doesn't he, Steve? Because you simply cannot play somebody like Styles with that level of energy almost twice in a week.
No, not at all. And for somebody, I mean, it were actually really, really easy to see against QPR. I held my hand up. I'm not a big fan of Chaplin. Just because he runs about at 80 mile an hour all over the field, don't make him a good player. But I look at Schmidt, and the thing for me about Schmidt is not only has he not had his chance, but he always seems to be near enough in the right position, which is what you want from a striker. And I've got to say same about Freezer. Freezer is a lot more mobile, he does a lot of running. But again, he seems to be in the right place at the right time. For me, Chaplin, and no detriment to lad, League One striker, fantastic. I just don't think he brings in running about. We've moved away from running about. Back in the day, everybody, we used to love them if they ran about it, and get 110%, all that sort of thing. But now I think we need something with a little bit more upstairs, a little bit more knowledge, and just, in a way, a little bit more luck. Because a couple of Schmidt's chances, it were lucky because he was just stood at right place at right time.
A friend of mine who I play with football, he doesn't do much running, Steve, and he says if I wanted to be a runner, I would have joined Rotherham Harriers. That's what he says.
There you go. You see?
There you go.
That's it.
We've got about 10 minutes left, so I do want to talk about the new gaffer. There were a few names mentioned. Well, there's a lot of names mentioned, but if you go by the betting, we could have talked about loads. It was sort of narrowed down to 2 or 3, they said, and then the day after, Valérien Ismail was announced. Steve, I know you did your research and you looked, and especially at Lask, as a playing career, he's played at a really decent level, but even managerial, to get to the Europa League, I'm not being funny, they finished higher than PSV, and being Dutch, I don't know if you know, Chris, I'm Dutch, yeah, I know, I mentioned it. So, that shows that what he can do with a bunch of players that nobody's ever heard of. Steve, I know it's early days. Is he the man to take us to that next level? See what I did?
Oh, I like that. No, I like that, mate.
Steve, don't encourage him.
Notes all afternoon.
Oh, that's his boy band coming out. I was waiting for him to say "Tyke That."
Yeah, that's next.
His boy band. Is that next? Oh, sorry, mate. I didn't want to steal your thunder there. Let's face it. 2 games in. How can you tell? A couple of things I've noticed about him that I will put across is I thought the PR with the Twitter picture of him giving his daughters a love before he flew out were absolutely brilliant. I thought that, that's going to get somebody on your side straight away. So PR-wise, fantastic. His first press conference, he comes across very confident. I know there's some reports that say he can be quite volatile. I'm not being funny. We could do with somebody volatile because some of them could do with a good kick-up arse. So, that's something else that's a tick in the plus column. One thing I did notice about his game against QPR, and I don't know if you've picked up on this, again, when Stendhal was here and when Struber was here, Murray, I think I said it to you, Carlo, always seemed to be on the shoulder a lot of time. Whether they were, talking and whatever they were doing, that's fair enough. But against QPR, he was, in a way, his own man. He was up there. He was kicking every ball. It was though, this is my team now. I'm doing it the way I want to do it, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
Your opinion on him? I know it's early days, Chris, but he got a job in Greece, managed for one match, fell out with the owner, and walked away.
He sounds like my kind of man. He sounds like my kind of man. Go on, Carlo. Sorry.
But do you think he's the right fit? We know the board has got this vision of how they want to play. We know that's similar to his sort of style. Things like you've seen the group huddle, the press talk after. One win is great, but it means nothing if you lose the match after. It sounds all very positive, doesn't it? I suppose that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it is positive, and it's very exciting to be a Barnsley fan, and to me, it's been very exciting for the past 4 or 5 years. It's never a dull moment, is there? That is for sure. And I don't think there's going to be many dull moments either with this manager. And at the end of the day, board can have any structure or tactical way they want to play, but if they're winning games, they're winning games. Yeah. And this board wants Barnsley FC to be in Championship, and maybe at some point in a year's time, 2 years' time, when resale value has gone up, we might move a few on, we might bring more in. Eventually, the Moneyball system, they're going to want it to work to the point where we're challenging for playoffs. And if not, to the point where we're selling players for 10 million. So either way, the only way we're going to get them goals is by succeeding and winning games on football pitch. Now, I don't care if he's a softly spoken gentleman. I don't care if he's throwing water bottles at people or he's chasing people around New Miller Dam. We a big dog. It doesn't bother me. As long as they're winning games, I'm happy. And there's different types of managers, isn't there? There's different types of managers. And when you're managing different people, Carlo, you and I both know, Steve, you'll know, managing different people, there's not one size that fits all, is there? No. And it's just getting that right. And if you can get that right, why not? We'll be at Premiership in 2 years.
And you have to look back, and that doesn't mean you don't have to look at the Championship. If you look at the great managers of all time, if Sir Alex Ferguson is in that, which he should be, we know what he was like with his players. At times, they needed an arm around the shoulders and sometimes they needed a water bottle throwing at him and a bit of a black eye. But I suppose I'd do that to David Beckham if I could. Just 5 minutes left. Watford. Now, I've seen lots on social media saying, I fear for our goal difference. Just to put it in context, Barnsley are unbeaten in 4. Watford so far have only scored more than 1 goal on 1 occasion. So they either draw 1-1 or they lose 1 or they win 1-0. The last 2 matches 1-1, Coventry and Wickham. Barnsley undefeated in 4. New manager. We shouldn't fear him, should we, Chris?
Yeah, 5-0 Barnsley, Carlo.
Well, he's been drinking again, hasn't he?
It's only Yazoo, Steve. No, nothing to fear at all. And why would the Carlo? Any football player that's walking onto that pitch, particularly the age range that we've got, particularly the form we're in, the energy we've got, what have we got to fear? This is a different team than what we saw a year ago. A way different team. We're not leaky. If we're not leaky, if you're conceding one goal a game, you've got enough in you to win it. There's goals in that team. I'm telling you, we're more than capable of getting a point against Watford. It's just whether fear engulfs them, and I hope it doesn't.
Steve, he says there's goals. If Chaplin's not going to score them, who's going to score them for Barnsley?
It'll be Freezer, Woodrow, and Simoes up front on Saturday. I think that's what I would go with. Watford have got some talented players. They've got some Premiership players. But I think with this guy in charge now, he could see some of that fight the other night. It'll only get better. The fight will get more and more intense because he'll demand it of players. And I think the players that can't step up to that may fall by the wayside, sort of thing. But no, I would say we've nothing to fear on Saturday. I'd take a point now. I've got to be honest. I would take a point now. But you know what? Why not? Why not 3 points?
Put you on the spot then. Score forecast then. Chris, you first for Saturday. Barnsley at home versus the Hornets.
Yeah, just another really good performance. Lots of energy. Lots of crunching tackles and lots of in amongst them. 2-2.
2-2, okay.
2-2. I like that. No, I think it'll be an hard game. I think there might be a lot of chances, but I don't think many of them will be taken. I think it'll be a 1-0.
Very good.
Which way, Steve? Which way, Steve?
You see, I didn't say that, did I?
If you say
I think
yeah,
I think if we can create the chances we did towards the end of the game and carry that on, I don't see why we couldn't come away, get that goal, and then I think his fighting mentality will demand that we don't concede.
Yeah. Gents, thank you very, very much. Never forget, take that, never forget, football's all about opinions, and we love to share our opinion with yours on Twitter. Don't forget to follow us. We will put up another episode that Chris did today. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I know you're talking to Jimmy Whitehead and to the Barnsley ladies' new coach.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, they've both been appointed recently in the new roles. Jimmy out in Maine, and obviously Andy Gossip's been appointed Barnsley women's manager. Yep. So I had them both in to have a chat about what it's like being a new manager, seeing as we've got a new manager. Made sense, Steve. You know, it made sense.
Oh, no, I like it.
Really good conversation. It is up on YouTube, Carlo, alongside all his other YouTube videos, where this one will be. It will be up on podcast alongside where this audio will be. We're on Audio Boom. We are on Spotify,
Google,
Apple Podcasts, Google. We're everywhere. We're everywhere.
Give us a follow, and we'll be back next week.